Good afternoon, everybody. Monday, August 25th, 2025, to the Administrative Committee regular meeting, and happy first day to all the vandals out there for the first day of the semester. Let's get rolling, shall we? First item on the agenda is the approval of the Administrative Committee meeting from June 23rd, 2025 minutes.
Looked good to me.
No concerns.
Likewise. Great. Item number 2, approval of Human Rights Commission sponsorship requests. There's a handful of them, and Chief, welcome.
Hello. You're right. That is like right in your face, isn't it?
It makes you want to sing.
That's right. So we've got a few of them here. Obviously, the reason why I'm in front of you is they are over $500 and the new policy on that. So we'll just start through, I guess, in order of when they are to occur. The first one would be the silent film of September. What am I? I'm out of sync here. Nope. The film Won't You Be My Neighbor? They're wanting to do this on September 17th in the evening. This movie is to be aired at the Kenworthy and open to the public for free. The second one would be the other film, and this one is involving a restoration aspect to it of the film itself, adding, making it into 4K, I guess, and then adding in music, things like that. So with this one, I did find out today, so you'll see on your agenda, it did say that this was free and open to the public. I found out that that's not particularly the case. The cost of this one was, the restoration is pretty expensive, and so there is still a cost to the public to go see this film. And I just bring that to the council's attention because, you know, for staff, that raises a little bit of concern about the fact that people still would have to pay to go and benefit from this one.
And that film is The Told in the Hills.
Correct.
Can I ask a question about that? Is this a fundraising moment, or is this a make ends meet, pay for the bill moment?
So what I found out today was that the funds that the HRC would be giving would go towards helping to restore this film. But originally we were under the impression that it was supposed to help cover the whole thing so that when they filmed it or when they showed it, that people could go and see it for free, as the other film is, but that's not the case.
Okay.
So I will leave that one to the council's approval or denial on that one.
Go ahead, Drew.
And so if I'm understanding it, I'm just looking for people to fill in my knowledge gaps when I read through the packet. So this is a restoration. They're bringing it up to modern day film standard 4K, and it is I believe this is the tribal, the Nez Perce tribe, original kind of documentation of some of the first filming that we have, that or the only filming.
200 archival photos shot on set for publicity for this movie.
Yeah, there were, I believe, over 100 Nez Perce tribal members that were actors in the film or had parts in the film. And that's why it's kind of got that historical aspect to it. Because I think they were saying that's one of the oldest films that had Son of the Native Tribe in it.
Yeah, and so just one of my comments is like, clearly it's great, right? Like I got no problem with content. I'm just wondering. It seems like this would be coming from the Historic Preservation Commission rather than the HRC Commission.
Sure.
And I'm just trying to wonder, I don't know if they're here today, but what's the rationale or the reason behind it, or the sponsorship? And I know this, you're just staff communicating, you know, so yeah. So I know I'm putting you on the hot seat, Chief, so I apologize.
No, you're perfectly fine. And I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. I believe it was just, they wanted to include this film in the inclusive month of September.
I can understand.
And so they were trying to calendar out several different events, and this one had come up to be kind of in line. They thought, wow, what a great experience to be able to help bring this film back or bring it up to standard so people could watch it and bring that cultural aspect to it. But that's the best I can answer as far as why they chose this one.
Can I ask a question real quick of the group? What do you think about maybe taking this to the regular council instead of putting it on consent? And then that way,
Mhm.
not only do we understand, all of us understand it, but I'd like to know some more details. You know, are there other contributors? What's the total cost?
Yeah, it
That
does
sort of
say,
thing. I just need a little bit more of a rounded
Mhm.
picture.
Sure.
and to that end, do you know off the top of your head, Chief, the other co-hosts? Because it just says co-host. So curious if it's like with maybe a group from campus or if I missed that in the packet.
There was some promotional materials, I think, that were sent out today, and actually was what caught our attention about this potentially being not a free event open to the public. I think what they had included,
This came out today.
yeah. So I think at least on the promotional material, the poster, the Trust for Civic Life, Idaho Humanities Council, Inland Northwest, and Human Rights Commission are listed as sponsors on the bottom of the poster for the event. We did, when this came in last week and we were reviewing the sponsorship request, we did ask to verify that this was going to be open and free to the public, which is what we were told at that time. That's why that's noted in the CCSR. That's the case. Staff, we do have some concerns. I mean, it's certainly sponsorship is something that, commissions can do generally underneath the policy. It really is, we can provide a contribution where the entity is providing a service the city could legally provide but chooses not to, or that it's providing a service that complements or enhances the service the city currently provides. The service is aligned with and supports the city's mission and purpose, and it provides an identifiable public benefit. And so really when we're looking at this as being events conducted during Inclusive Communities Month, which is September, they're going to have a number of activities, including the Mr. Rogers film, this film, and then the community dinner. That seemed like something, as long as those events were open and free to the public. It does look like it's a $40 pass to attend the Silent Film Festival. And so that's what caused some concern. We just learned that today.
I also kind of bristle at the fact that publicity is coming out with the Human Rights Commission on there as a sponsor without any kind of approval from us. And I don't know if it has to be blessed by us.
Yes, yeah, these
It does. All right,
these
that's what I
sponsorships
thought.
that are over 500 have to be approved by the council. They were aware of that.
Yeah, and I can expand on that. Since the policy has changed, I know that the HRC has had a little bit of difficulty in extending their timeline on some of these items. And so some of them have ended up being kind of rushed towards the end to try to get them in front of all of you. And so I think that's where this one might have happened, where they felt like
Sure.
it was too close and then they threw that on there. But yes, it does need to be approved by council to go through.
Yeah, and I think it's good that we bring it back. I mean, the whole council's gonna have to approve it.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I love Mr. Rogers. Huge Daniel Tiger fan here. Watch it too frequently. But I'm just trying to understand for me, I guess when we talk about it in a full council, what does Mr. Rogers have to do with this? I mean, I love cardigans. I love being a good neighbor. I mean, I love all those things, but I'm just trying to point my finger to it. And I think it's a discussion for council,
Agreed.
and
And if I might, I mean, there is there's a form that's attached to the packet where the commission articulated why they felt it was appropriate for them to support. And so I would refer the council to that statement. And then we can certainly, if this was to proceed on to the regular agenda for the council on Tuesday night, which would be after Labor Day weekend, we can certainly see if there's a representative of the commission that can come speak to these questions the council may have.
I think I would be most comfortable with that. And I would say that we don't recommend approval or denial, that we
Sure.
go as a
Yep.
a threesome saying, hey, we need to talk this over.
Just more information. And I think for me, I was curious to learn more. And so I'm happy to kind of keep going that direction. And then I was also curious, with regards to the sums that they were asking for, what that does leave over for some of the events that they do sponsor, like the Martin Luther King
Mhm.
Breakfast and some other events that I know that they do want to probably have some funding for down the line too.
Mhm.
Like this seemed,
It's like Juneteenth
Right.
and
I think, so we'll be turning the fiscal year. So September
Right.
30 will be the end of the
Yeah.
fiscal year. So I think they were utilizing remaining funds from this fiscal year for these sponsorships. Those other events would fall into the next fiscal
that's
year.
right. That's right. Okay.
And I'm not against, in fact, I love the idea of us supporting a free event for the public. I love that. I think that makes me very happy. I'm tripping over the restoration one because it
Sure.
doesn't quite feel the same. Like one of these things, Sesame Street, one of these things is not like the other.
I like
So-
Big Bird.
Huh?
I'm cool with Big Bird. Um,
So I just think it should be on the regular agenda.
Yeah.
If that is what.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I mean, I saw the paragraph of, you can see it on Mr. Blankenship's screen, and also through review, but the rationale is really important about like, I think the timing of why it's being brought to us, and
Mhm.
then how, what is the full intent of it, right? I just think these are, of course, like providing amenities, as Gina has spoken to, it obviously is a great thing, but the timing, and also we've just recently talked about timing on council when approving and not approving things, like what's the rationale behind the timing, and what is the mission of sponsoring. I think it's really important. And it'd be great to hear it from those that are putting this forward, not to be grilled, but to understand.
For more transparency and just kind of understanding. Okay. So yeah, we will recommend that we hear more about it.
Okay. Did we also want to talk about the dinner, or you want
Yes.
to leave that for full council as
I
well?
want to hear about it
Yep.
too.
Okay. So this one would have been, or is set for tentatively the 29th of September. And the commission was hoping to put on they were concerned with the university and some students, and potentially has some food insecurities.
Mhm.
And so to provide a free meal and a place to, as they put it, come to the table and do that at the 1912 Center. So that is the idea behind that event. And it would be catered, of course.
Okay. I really have a lot of questions
Go ahead.
about budget, so
Yeah.
when they come, please have them bring budgets
Okay.
along. Please.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
smile when you ask them, because I really am not cranky about the whole idea.
I think
Absolutely.
the idea is great.
I do too.
I think all the the ideas are good. Implementing and action and planning is things I have questions about.
And I do apologize, the dinner one didn't make it.
No, it's
It was
okay. No, no
incorrectly attached to the online packet. So,
Very good.
We'll get that updated for the council meeting.
all right.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, item number 3, Hills and Rivers Housing Trust Affordable Housing Grant Request with Elisa. Hello, good
Afternoon.
afternoon.
So I'll start this one with a little bit of history because the two of you actually weren't here when we started this program.
Back in the day.
Can you believe that? So back in November 15th of 2021, the mayor and council approved resolution 2021-22, which I included in your packet with Exhibit A, and basically establishing the City of Moscow Affordable Homeownership Grant Program. And in that fiscal year, the next fiscal year, we had a $50,000 allocation. And that was to be $10,000 per home. And then I actually sent out a letter letting them know of the award. And then they came back to us requesting 5 homes to be constructed in 2022. And we were able to fund one of those since then. But because of a lot of factors within the affordable housing range, they were not able to come forward with another one until recently. I just want to step back, as I noticed here, the first one and the only one we've previously done, we also had the ARPA funding that we could contribute another $10,000 for. That was under a separate resolution. And so that one house that we previously funded was for $20,000. So today in front of you, and Nils is here with us, the Hills and Rivers Housing Trust with the name change, submitted a request to us in August. And the buyer met all of the qualifications that were within the resolution. However, in order for them to have the payment be affordable, IHFA and the parents contributed funds. I don't know exactly how much that is, but it allowed the payment to be within the borrower's range. And he's able to make the payment now on his income. And
if I might clarify, but the complicating factor is that
Yeah.
they required the parent to be on the deed, correct?
Yes,
They're
but not on the loan.
On the
Yeah.
loan documentation. And so that's
not
that's the complicating factor is the parent would not qualify based on the income threshold and
Mhm.
requirements of qualifying. But IHFA, I think it was IHFA, the lender, Nils, required that they wanted the parent to be on the document. And so that's why we're before you today.
Yeah, thank you. So there are two documents. There's the deed and the loan. And IHFA, to protect federal funds, wanted the parent on the deed. This individual has a disability and is in the guardianship. It's an adult person in the guardianship of his mother. And so IHFA is concerned to protect the federal money that's part of this down payment assistance. And so wanted the mother on the title. The lender is not the federal government. The lender is a private lender. And the lender was happy seeing the amount of down payment assistance and the permanent disability income of the individual to say, okay, that works. That income can pay that debt. And so the individual is the only name on the loan. Should there be a default, obviously then the mother would get involved with the federal chunk of the money that's in the story.
And just to remind you of how the program works, the $10,000 actually goes back to the trust to continue supporting the program. So I just want to make sure you know that money doesn't go to the borrower
Okay.
or the occupant of the home. It goes back into the trust to continue to support this type of program. So I think with that, looking at that, staff felt that it met all the intent to continue moving forward. And I think it still falls within all the program parameters.
Have you tried your magic with IHFA?
Oh, no, they're not talking. They
They
did
don't
their
talk
thing.
at all.
This is
They
already
did their
closed.
thing. They said this will happen this way or it won't happen. There's no magic.
Yeah, I mean, I read it. I gotta think about it for a minute.
Okay.
I'm trying to.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please, yeah. Please.
So I mean, and I appreciate you working us through this, especially
Yeah.
given that it is complicated and messy. I'm curious, what would happen were we not to approve and authorize this decision? Like what's the path that goes the other direction?
Then the trust doesn't get reimbursed for the $10,000.
Okay.
The individual would still be able to buy a house in
Oh,
another.
they're in
This
the
house,
house.
they've
They're in
lived
the
there quite a
house.
while.
Yeah, it's a done deal.
No, that's helpful. Okay.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that the city will have a lien position behind the borrower for $10,000 on this.
That's not different from any of the other ones.
No, and that's
Right.
standard to how the program was set up and how we did the previous one also. And legal prepares those documents to secure that.
And I guess to build on my question I just asked, granting this, does this then set a new precedent moving forward, or is this just in relation to this very nuanced situation?
I think this is probably an anomaly.
Okay.
And I think, being able to work with someone who does have a disability is even more
Absolutely.
important to the program in a sense. And I think, being able to have the trust have that funding to continue the program is what really the goal is.
Great. Cool.
And the intent.
Great. And I think kind of asking those side questions helps me get to
Agreed.
the understanding the need for approval. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest. When I read this, I totally misunderstood what was being.
Yeah, I mean, it took a couple
mhm.
questions.
I had to be careful in how I word, I
Yeah,
wanted
no,
to
and,
remain
yeah,
neutral.
and sorry, it's not like
accepted my
a.
recommendation.
Yeah, it's not a critique against you by any means. So, I guess my question now that I'm looking at through a different aperture is, in no way like things that we've done in the past similar to this. There's nothing that the city's at risk of. It's just a different scenario.
No, you just be approving exception because you have, essentially, there is another name on the title to the home.
Yeah.
that individual would not qualify to meet the low income requirements of the program. And so you're just providing an exception because of the unique circumstance here of this individual to provide that exception. Staff didn't feel that we had the authority to grant that exception. All these can be processed in accordance with resolution by staff, but this one just had a slight distinction here of that additional name being on the title that would not be a qualified buyer. But we felt supportive of the request.
I think I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I don't have any
agreed.
questions
And
about
I
this.
do too. Like I think this is a great example of community partnership. But my only question is with the name being on the deed, right? Does that, if that becomes the person full time on the deed, what happens to like walk me through a scenario where
This gentleman would no longer be living in the
Yes.
home. What would that look like?
Yeah.
Nils, I'll let you answer that, but keep in mind that the land is still owned.
Oh,
by the
yeah, of
Yeah,
course, but
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the land is owned by the trust. The city's lien would be against the land because that's the piece that we can obligate, right?
Yeah.
Not the.
Mhm.
Should the individual who is the owner or co-owner, should that individual pass away, as things stand, the mother would be the remaining owner on title. We would obligate the mother to meet the income requirements and to move in, neither of which she's likely to do.
Right. So
then
it
it'd
would
be
sell.
sold.
So that, then we would, if she failed to do that, we would force a sale to another income qualified buyer.
person.
This is a no-brainer.
So,
So
Yeah.
it will unravel itself.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the part I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out in my head. Okay, yeah,
And I appreciate the step-by-step and again, getting into the minutia here. But I feel comfortable recommending approval.
absolutely. And as I read this, I wasn't thinking about it through a couple scenarios. So thank you for being patient. Yeah, I think we recommend it for sure.
Yeah. And Nils, thanks for
Yeah.
coming up.
You bet. It's about 10 grand to me to sit
Yeah,
here.
appreciate it.
And I still have no heartburn in spite of your involvement. So we're good.
Would you like that on consent?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that feel good?
That was said with
Gina, Andrew?
affection, you know that.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in a week.
Thank you for all of the questions, to the
Yeah.
answers and the patience. That was a lot.
Thanks for looking at it again.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Lisa, don't go very far because you're here for the next couple. Item number 4, Idaho Community Development Block Grant. Yep. ICDBG Affordable Housing Project.
So city staff has been working with a development corporation who is hoping to build a low-income tax credit housing development with
Yeah.
rental properties. And so they've proposed and are working on building the 2-phase 10-acre development at the end of War Bonnet Drive, which would be, where it dead ends there, and they're looking at purchasing the property in the
On
field.
top?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So there'd be 92 affordable rentals, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom. And the target households would be between 30 and 80% of area medium income. And they would be focused to families, children, and the Housing Authority waitlist applicants, and also veterans. So, and I went on to describe kind of the community amenities. And as I go through my next agenda item, you'll know why I say this, but currently the city is not eligible for block grants. However, because this project is eligible, we can still apply on their behalf and represent them. And the maximum award would be $500,000, and then 10% match for grant administration would be contributed by the city for my services for administering the project. We had another anomaly, and this came up Thursday afternoon. Dennis Porter from the Idaho Department of Commerce, who manages the block grant program, called me, and we had just published the agenda. And he said, Elisa, I want to let you know that I heard from HUD earlier this week, and that on affordable housing tax credit projects, the Build American, we call it BABA,
Ali Baba.
Baba, if we use block grant funds on this project or any project like this, that requirement would apply to all of the construction, even though we would just be looking at assisting with the infrastructure like street, road, sewer, water, that type of thing. It would trigger the Baba to be applicable to the entire project. And I know Bill was reaching out with them today and was not able to make connection with them. I'm assuming they may not want to move forward with this, but if they do, we wanted to go ahead and bring this forward to you today. It would be an application that we wouldn't submit until November
Mhm.
under public facilities. So we're still requesting approval with knowing that we'll find out from them, and we can certainly, Bill will be able to update you on that.
And could we rewind just for a second? Sorry, I'm having to rewind a lot today. So,
A lot of acronyms.
so Baba, right?
Baba.
Okay.
Build America, Build American,
Buy American.
or Buy American, excuse me, yes.
Okay. That's a great acronym. But so we reached out to them today for the purpose of why wouldn't we? I'm having a hard time. Why wouldn't we?
So we reached out to Department of Commerce, probably 6-8 weeks ago, to determine whether this would be eligible for community block grant for public infrastructure to support their
Okay,
tax
okay.
credit housing development. Dennis confirmed it was eligible. The mayor has already provided a letter of support to the applicant that was seeking the tax credits, so the DW Properties. We also provide a letter indicating they would be willing to explore pursuing a community development block grant, because anything they can get from local match contributions helps them in their point system for getting that
For sure.
award. So we didn't commit we were going to do it, but we committed to a willingness to explore the grant. The developer was thankful for that. We started down this road of getting it on the agenda for the council's approval for us to pursue the grant. And then Dennis called late last week indicating that the Buy America requirements would extend beyond just the public infrastructure, the water, sewer, and street construction, but it would affect the entire project. So all of the apartment development would be subject to that standard, which can result in a fairly sizable increase in construction costs. Based on that news from late last week, we do expect they probably won't want us to pursue the grant because of the cost impact it would have on the development, but we are waiting for confirmation. If we get a call, I'm sure we'll get in touch before we publish the agenda on Thursday for the council meeting coming up on Tuesday. But if that's the case, we'll just not advance this on the agenda.
And this project would also be subject to Davis-Bacon wages too. So normally on like a street infrastructure project, that's not a lot of difference in wages. I'm not sure as far as what building costs, if that.
I think there's two things to say is one, I think there's conversations amongst in the community where I think we're often limited to what we can do for affordable housing from a city councilor, city perspective. And everyone has a great idea of how they can solve it. But when they dive into the minutia, oftentimes we're left kind of handcuffed. It's not that we don't care or we don't like this. I think this is an opportunity. How we can show the public, we are doing everything that we can, despite what people think. And we care a lot about it. So one, really thankful for the work. I think this is great. Two, curious to hear what my other two colleagues have to say, but I think it's something that we just put on. It's going to have to be on a regular agenda anyway with like approval if things line up the way they should. It might not come out to be that case, depending on what Dennis says, but I think it's something like that.
I cannot agree more with Drew, and we saw the light there for a minute.
I know.
And then Baba appeared out of nowhere.
Alibaba.
I really am bothered by the impact of that. And then Davis-Bacon, that's scary too. It could just be a huge, but I'm in favor of it. I would love to still be on the starting blocks, just waiting to see if we could do it. I really am.
The Development Corporation has done this type of thing using block grant money in other states.
Yeah.
So I think, they're used to the Davis-Bacon route.
Okay.
But I think, I don't know if this is something Dennis just said, HUD just informed us early last week. And the first thing he thought of was that we had made that previous call and he wanted to let me know.
Yeah, I mean, echoing both Drew and Gina, I mean, yeah, I think that I like the phrase of being on the starting block, right? If we're ready to go for this project, this is something that we can showcase that we clearly do take the issue surrounding affordable housing very seriously, right? But being handcuffed or hamstrung by what we can actually do takes a little bit more digging to understand. But this is actually something that we can be proactive on. So I definitely think that we move forward on it, even if our hearts get a little broken. I think we move a little forward on it. So, but I think that it's a good idea to go to all council. What's the move there?
Yeah, I think we should bring it to full council just so we can update you on the outcome of this. So if the
Sure.
developer wants to proceed, then we'll bring it to the full council, put it on the regular agenda. If the developer decides, hey, I don't want to have that obligation, then we just won't put it on the agenda, and we'll send a follow-up email out to the council just informing you of that outcome.
And if I'm reading this, if that becomes a case for the developer, do we know if they'll pursue another path, or are they kind of done?
No, I think they're still applying to receive the tax credits. I think they still were committed to proceeding with their project. It was just something that could help.
Yeah.
And so
Finding tools and
I think they were thankful for the city's support and willingness to pursue a grant application to help with some of that infrastructure cost. But I think it was their intent, as far as I understand, that if they get the award, that they do hope to move forward with the project. So I don't think it changes anything there.
Such good news.
Good. Great, thank you.
Yeah, this is good.
And then to move, very seamlessly into item number 5, which when reading the packet, I was going back and forth between both items. I was like, wait, I just thought we read this. But anyway, item number 5, low to moderate income, LMI, randomized community survey, also with Lisa.
Okay, so back in June of 24, we heard from Idaho Department of Commerce that we no longer were 51% LMI. We came in at 50.9, and they don't round up. And I tried. I asked the question several times, got the same answer. So the block grant program under the application handbook, which I included kind of the method, how we would go about this. They allow for eligible applicants, if you're 51% LMI or more, or if you're not, to challenge that or at least meet the criteria,
Yes.
confirm it. So that involves doing a randomized survey. And as I said, we attach the process. We've worked through putting all the documentation together and have submitted to administration for review. And I've put together a schedule, but it's just kind of blocks of time putting it together. This campaign would involve doing a lot of public outreach. And in order for people to fill out the surveys, and I included a copy in your packet, and they're basically just saying yes or no to one question, above or below.
Yeah.
And so the income ratios will be at the bottom or attached in the letter, and so they'll just have to look at that. We anticipate there being, let me look at this again. I think, Bill wanted to know, how do we staff this? And so we did some ratios, and we anticipate at a low number that we would get back, and keeping in mind, we're going to mail out 373, but we need to have a minimum of 75% back, which is 280, which I know is much, much higher than any surveys we do. Keeping in mind, though, that we're going to be doing a great deal of public outreach. And
Before,
we'll-
during, and
Yes. And we have like a 72-day window to complete all of this work. So we're working with Corey, and he'll be putting things out on the city's public media. I don't know that at this point we'll have time to get to all of the commission meetings, but the ones we can, we will. And then we'll email out the commission members. I think when we trigger it, maybe another report to council, just everything we can do to kind of get the information out. And then there'll be a number of ways that people can respond. We're going to send them all out with a self-addressed stamped envelope.
Good.
And then we'll also have a QR code on the website that people can, and it'll be on the mayor's letter also, that people can just use their phone and answer. And then people can also call because each one will have a number that's related to the address.
Sorry to cut you off there. And that QR code does count as appropriate documentation, like
Yes.
going through that mechanism. Okay.
But it won't be on the website. It would go to the recipient. They'd have a unique QR code.
No, my understanding was that the city will have a QR code and then in their answer, they'll put the identification number. Excuse me, I
Yeah.
didn't
Okay.
state that.
So,
Okay.
They-
Okay.
Each survey has a specified
number.
number. So the city already owned a mailing list. Let me step
Right.
back a little.
Okay.
And so
Gotcha.
we're going to use that using a random number generator that the Department of Commerce gives us to use.
Okay.
And then we assign, we're going to pull probably 350 addresses through the random. And each survey will have its own random number.
Got it.
okay.
That's
So
very
when they
helpful.
do the QR code, they'll need to have their number off of their letter.
So it can't just be me that thinks it's a good idea. I have to
You
have
have to receive a letter.
350 times.
You have to receive a letter, correct.
It's like
I'm
a
sorry.
verification code to get you to the
Yes.
survey.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay.
And then folks can also call in, our number will be on the letter, and they can call in and say, this is my code, and that represents their address. And so in staffing this, looking at maybe getting 30% back, that would be 112. That's probably pretty high. We would maybe then need to do 168 door to door. And we're looking at having 30 days, I think, to do all of that. And it would take us, we need to do with the working days, the staff, or we would have 2 teams of 2. It would take us, we'd have to do 3 to 5 every day. And so some of those will need to be nighttime. So we'll be taking won't be 2 females in a team, but we'll be going out, and
Okay.
a lot of people, you can't reach them till the evening. So we'll keep pushing until we get a number enough to validate. So they also in their packet, so we have a letter mailed out, and we're targeting September 15th to do that. And then within so many days, I put it in your, I think within 2 weeks, I have to look back here, they get a second notification.
Good.
And there's a reminder, and then we'll do a third mailing, which is your last chance. And all along, we're telling them that, if you don't respond, you will probably get someone knocking at your door. So a lot of people are going to go, oh, I better do that because I don't want someone coming to my door. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I think it's doable, and I think it's worth it. If we can reach our criteria to get the 51% again, then that number, that would give us 5 years under that ranking, regardless of whether or not a new household
Yeah.
AMI
coming in and moving.
stats come out. We get to maintain that for 5 years. And keeping in mind that we've had several $100,000 in projects in the CIP right now, and looking at parks, the restrooms, we have several without restrooms right now. We can do downtown revitalization. So there's some key projects coming up that makes us even more important, and we'll work it to do what we can, but the numbers will come in how they come in. But we'll make sure that we have a valid survey and everything is well documented so that Department of Commerce could certify it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. I just a curiosity question. So we have like some data, randomized people we're going to contact, like their address. Is it appropriate to also call and email if we have that information, or is it just
We
only
don't have contact
It's
information. We
just
only have addresses.
addresses.
I like that better.
I did too, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Do we have a carrot instead of just a stick in this situation? I mean, it sounds like we're coming to your house.
So
Is there-
it's
is
those
there-
3 mailings and all the PR we're doing. I'm looking to you guys to, whenever you're in a public situation or meeting, let them know they might be getting a random survey. Please fill it out
Can
and
we do
return
a-
it.
Can we do a swag situation? Do we have like a free Moscow bag we could give them? I
You
mean, there
have to
needs to
be-
be what's in it for me, right?
I do it for
Right
a
now,
pool
it
pass.
sounds like we're gonna
Department
send
of
you.
Commerce is pretty strict about
No.
the guidelines of what you can say and do. And you can't say, in order for us to get these block grants, you have to fill this out. We can't go
but-
there.
Fill out the survey and maybe you'll win.
And we can't provide financial incentives for them to participate in it.
Well,
Yeah.
they're not super expensive. I feel like that's a little bit of a threat. We're coming to your house is a little scary to me.
We won't say that.
And let me
All
say
right.
this, if after we don't get, a couple of times maybe, or even once, depending upon how long it's going to take us to get through this, if we don't get the numbers that we need, then we'll draw more addresses. And those
I hear
might be here's a letter, here's what you would have got, here's what you would have got. Would you mind filling the survey out for us?
I might be willing to go to some of the houses.
As a counselor, yeah.
You have to come for
Yeah.
training first.
Oh. Okay, wait a minute.
Um,
I just think it's an important thing.
Yeah, and I
So
And I think, and correct me if I'm not understanding this correctly, but even with going through the survey, and let's say we do get the desired amount back, and it is over that threshold, right? It's still beneficial to have gone through this due to the fact that we now have that information, correct? Right, where clearly we're hoping that it comes under what it,
Actually, we want it to be over.
Want it to
So
be
we
over,
want to
okay.
be the 51% or higher.
we were at 50.9.
50.9, yeah. So in the way it works with the block grants, you can have targeted specific improvements that benefit LMI population. So like the apartment complex we talked about before, even though we don't have 51% LMI, we can still apply for projects that benefit LMI communities. What we can't do is we can't make community-wide applications. So we've
Right.
done that over the years
Yeah.
to fund like half of the fire engine replacements. So almost 300,000 to replace half a fire engine. We've had 2 engines funded that way. I think downtown revitalization, even some more general park projects would probably be difficult unless it's a park in an area with an LMI population and we can articulate how it's benefiting that particular area. Us dropping below that 51% just means we can't submit the community-wide projects. And that's really what we've been pretty successful at least it's been very successful at for example, the fire apparatus. They're very expensive, or the park projects like we did for Mountain View and Indian
also-
Hills.
The west wing of the 1912 Center had a block grant in it too.
So it's those community-wide projects where we end up getting harmed with that LMI. So the hope is we'll return 51 or above. If not, at least we've given a try.
Sure.
And, it may be, 100, 120 hours of labor involved in going through this. Certainly there's a cost to it, but the cost of losing the LMI status is substantially more. So we think it's worth exploring.
370.
And if we're close
special.
again, I don't know if Bill would want us to do that, but we could do it again next year or the year after. I mean, because this is going to last for 5 years where we are right now.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, with what Gina said, I'm very serious. I'll take a training, and I've been known to knock many doors in my lifetime, so I'm good at it.
myself and another staff member will kind of be the main interviewers, but we certainly could use a male, a male with us if we're going out in the evening or,
Or a mean female.
yeah, there we go. I don't want to discriminate
do
there,
not.
but yeah, we
Still
just want to
spicy.
make sure that we have a team of 2 going out after
Sure.
dark.
Sure.
Not that we're afraid to be out in Moscow, but it's just,
And
That's smart.
And again, maybe I misheard or didn't see this correctly. Is there a deadline? Is there a self-imposed deadline that we have with this, or is there a goal deadline that we have with
yes.
this?
So from the date of the mailing of the letter,
It was
there
70
is
days.
72 days, I
72
believe.
days, that's right.
75 calendar days.
Okay.
And we're focused on trying to complete all the door-to-door surveys by the end of October because we need to have everything submitted to Commerce within that 75-day period. So we'd have until right before Thanksgiving to get everything into them.
Great. That's helpful.
Yeah, and really for our community, getting it done before Thanksgiving and students leave during the
Oh,
break
for sure.
is critical.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions?
Go. Ready, set, go.
Oh, great. Consent?
Yep.
Yeah. Great.
Or can we put this on regular? I think it just might be another opportunity to advertise, get the word out to the community by
idea.
putting this on regular agenda.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Great.
That was what I was hoping for.
Yeah, great.
More
Let's do it.
PR.
You were going to
Let's do it.
volunteer for
Yeah.
regular?
Great.
We're rolling now.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much for everything here tonight, Lisa. Item number 6. Sarah, hello. Open budget for fiscal year 2024-25 review.
Yes.
Can we just talk about the budget? I'm just
We
kidding.
did. I know. It's kind of, I can't
FY
believe we're
26.
back
Yeah,
again.
that's just kidding.
We just wanted you to come back, so.
Well, and oddly enough, a lot of this is because of fiscal year 24. So,
Oh,
but for the open or for FY25 open budget process, we are recommending 7 changes totaling $5,710,476. And before I get started, so kind of like what I just said, all of these balances, with the exception of one, were from calculations that we had at fiscal year end of 24. And because those were unanticipated at that time, we had already completed the 25 budget, so we couldn't appropriate any of the funds. So we're going back asking now, and these funds are actually already appropriated in the FY26 budget. So everything that I explain and all the movement of it, just know that the appropriation, like I said, with the exception of one, is from 24 and we appropriated in 26. Okay, clear as mud, I know. All right, so starting with the general fund, we ended fiscal year 24 with an unanticipated and unappropriated fund balance of $726,888. That was mostly due to Moscow PD salaries and benefits. So they ended fiscal year with several vacant patrol positions still at that time. And so we came up with about $682,000 of excess funding from those vacancies. We are in anticipation of FY25 year end. We're asking to open the budget and increase revenues and expense by a portion of this, $326,888. This will allow us to move this in, flow it through beginning and ending fund balance, and transfer it to capital projects at year end. We do have a remaining portion of approximately $400,000 that we are keeping in the general fund for some anticipated future expenses.
And those expenses are related to the police department. So while the funds came, these excess fund balances came from vacant positions, we're also facing the need to replace body cameras, cameras in vehicles, as well as tasers that are all reaching end of life. So we are currently exploring replacing those. Of this 400,000, we had 200 that was a repayment of overpayment of fees from Whitcom. So we had 200. So I'm not sure if the full council, I think I've communicated this to the council previously, but we identified that under the contract with Whitcom, Whitcom was responsible for paying the telephone providers 911 database fees. And the city had been providing them ever since we shifted to them for dispatch. So Whitcom made a repayment to us of about $201,000. So that with a couple $100,000 of this fund balance, we had earmarked to potentially fund the replacement, and this will come to the council for full review and approval, but we've been earmarking those funds for replacement of body cams, vehicle cameras, as well, and tasers that are all reaching end of life. So it was kind of one-time money, so it looked like it'd be a good opportunity to use that. So we've kind of held that 400,000 back in anticipation of that request coming to the council. PD is currently going through a request for quotes from the 3 major providers, and then we'll bring that information for the council's review and approval.
Sorry, Gina, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
With that, we talked about maybe some like incentives for police. Is that part of that too for recruiting? Is that from a
So
different?
the incentives are not part of this. So we do have both the lateral incentive as well as a signing bonus incentive, but those are they're being funded out of the full-time wages for the vacant positions.
Okay,
so
so that's
There's enough savings. This balance accumulated in 24 with the additional money from Whitcom this year. Every year that we have vacant positions, and we still have at least 3, I think, currently, we have savings that are funding those things like those signing bonuses as well as
two
lateral
different
incentives.
two
Two different funding sources.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, we're funding those just from salary savings in the current fiscal year. Because it's 10,000 and we may have 1 or 2 this year, but a vacant position is just about 100,000 in savings.
And that's salary plus benefits,
Yes,
not
total
just
cost.
salary.
Total
Yeah,
cost.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
a
those
that's a
were-
good clarification.
Yeah. All right, so street fund, at the end of fiscal year 24, we had an unanticipated and unappropriated fund balance of $468,006. And the most notable revenue actually on this one was a higher than anticipated disbursement from ITD for House Bill 354. And that was House Bill 354 transferred a portion of the state's general fund to ITD for road, bridge, and airport projects. That is no longer. So that was actually the last year that we received that. So that additional $486,000, we're requesting to open the budget to increase revenue and expense so we can bring that in, flow it through, and move it to capital at year end.
I think I interrupted Sarah. In the prior general fund is the same thing, that what we're requesting to move, the 326,888 would flow through to capital projects. Again, these are one-time savings going towards one-time expenses and capital projects.
Streets, capital projects.
Correct.
Okay.
It's capital projects, but that portion will be streets capital project. Yes.
And with the House bill, that's why it's just kind of legalese with the House bill. Like,
One-time monies,
yeah,
one-time or limited
It was 2
duration.
fiscal years
Yeah,
that we
limited
received
duration
it. Mhm.
appropriations.
So it just had a sunset on it.
Yeah. Yep. And so we don't see that anymore.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, so the Rec and Culture Fund, this one's actually a little different. We did have an unanticipated fund balance at fiscal year end of $201,026. That is not an amount we would typically open the budget for. But in fiscal year 26, we decided to move the 1% capital arts to capital projects, and that was due to the size and cost of those projects. It was determined that those should actually be in capital projects. And that amount was $239,114. And because we decided to move that out, and that was actually a budgeted revenue, we have to backfill that to ensure that our appropriations don't go negative at year end. And so we're going to bring in, or we're requesting to bring in that 201,000 and allow that to flow through and remain in Rec and Culture to even out the fund balance at the end. Water Fund had an unanticipated and unappropriated fund balance of $915,434. And this was an accumulation of growth over the last few fiscal years, our anticipation of the second DEQ loan coming online. And then we had some budget holdbacks. One was due to the timing of expenses towards the advanced metering infrastructure project and the timing of expenses towards the water comprehensive plan update. So we are requesting to bring in that full $915,434. We will be putting some towards, so for professional services, we'll put $97,235. For meters, we'll put $100,000. For the principal of the DEQ loan, that will be $172,426. Interest for the DEQ loan is $95,773. And then there's a remaining $450,000 that we would like to flow through and move to water capital at year end.
The flow pun is not lost on me.
I know.
It was lost on
At least
me
we're not
for
in
a
the sewer
minute.
fund yet.
Yeah, it's yes.
Sludge.
And I tried to eliminate as many of the words, but it's so hard. So sewer fund.
And again, like, as we're kind of working through this, like, is all of this one-time monies?
Monies,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yeah.
Fund
Yep.
balances are always one-time monies that oftentimes build up over a couple fiscal years. So it's not usually just in a single fiscal year, though it can be. If there's a
Yeah.
project that we thought was going to advance and didn't advance, we didn't expend the money, you get that fund balance built up. But they oftentimes build up over a couple fiscal years, and they're one-time savings. And so we will allocate them to one-time expenses in capital.
And so sewer fund, that is one of those where this is over a few fiscal years. We had an unanticipated fund balance of $1,279,769. And that's too large of a fund balance to be keeping within the operating fund. So we would like to open it and flow that through to capital at year end. Sanitation is the same thing. Over the last few fiscal years, they accumulated $1,125,403. And so we would like to open up the appropriation for revenue and expense to move that through to sanitation capital at year end. Information systems is a little different. During the FY25 budget year, they actually did a full review of all of their capital needs, their minor and capital equipment needs within IS, and determined that the fund had excess funds that was necessary. And being that it's an internal service fund, it's fully funded by all the other funds. So we can't keep more than necessary within that. So during this process, we're wanting to open the budget, bring in its $1,395,950, and we want to pay back every fund that has contributed.
From that money.
From that money, correct. So their portion of it will be paid back, and it'll
You
go
have
to
that
the
listed.
capital fund because it is one-time monies. And so I can go ahead and lay out the distribution. So for capital projects, it's $966,762. Of that, general fund dollars is $720,511. Recreation and culture is $176,503. And streets is $69,748. For water, which will move to water capital, is $193,222. Sewer is $173,185. Storm is $25,660. Sanitation is $13,148. And fleet is $21,973.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Real quick. Was this just something that didn't, like a project that didn't get implemented, or, because it is, like you're saying, it's an internal service fund, so it should be.
I think, I think they had kind of anticipated some inflation that we saw here about 4 years ago and increased replacement cost of equipment. That has now declined considerably.
Oh, okay.
So I think they'd gotten spooked by some of the early numbers we saw.
Sure.
And so that they started charging all the departments higher rates for replacement of equipment. We've seen kind of a lessening of that price increase, and then just kind of went through it with a fine tooth comb to make sure they weren't over allocating cost to them. And ultimately this was the balance we identified.
Awesome.
And also during 2020, during COVID, we had purchased or IS had purchased a lot of laptops, which are much higher cost. And after everybody came back into the office, we've switched back to, as they're rotating out, switched back to desktop, which has also had a huge increase in savings. And so that's also a portion of this money.
Yeah, I don't know how we answer this question, but it's just, I mean, I hope tariffs don't really come into play, but like, is that something that we're gonna, I mean, essentially that's kind of what we did 4 years ago, right? Like,
Yeah,
say
we'll continue to monitor.
yeah, but it's basically we're just trying to, the best that we can with our crystal ball.
Yeah.
We are trying to project that, and then since it wasn't there, we'll move it back, and we'll keep on monitoring like everyone else in the world
Yep.
truly is doing this right now. Okay, and hope it doesn't happen. Okay.
Sarah, I'm going to backtrack just for
Sure.
a second. Can we go back to the Rec and Culture Fund?
Sure.
And when you were explaining that, I got caught up on a question, but I'm not really sure what the question is. So just
That's
bear
right.
with me here.
Mhm.
On the 1% public art moved from recreation and culture to capital projects fund due to the size and cost associated with future public art projects. Are we essentially saying out of the city shop and potentially East City Park stage, or just open-ended art projects that are on the radar?
Well, there are current projects that I'm aware of, for instance, in 26, and Bill will have to help me on what the project is.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
one for 160,000.
Yeah, City Shop and East City Park Stage. No, it's really where the funding, where the appropriation
It's
lived.
moving, right?
So
Okay.
the 1%, the portion that we were reserving for, to meet the city's obligation for 1% of eligible capital projects being set aside for public art had been held in the Rec and Culture Fund in the operating fund. And so it's showing us we're reserving the revenue coming in every year and showing the expenditure every year, even though we weren't actually expending the funds, so we could preserve that money. We've done that. We talked about the drug tip line funding as we went through the FY26, where we'd appropriate the money coming in and show it fully expended at the end of the year. But that was just to preserve it from being spent, even though we may not have had any anticipated expenditures or use of those funds that particular fiscal year. But that was the method by which we were holding those funds. we decided it would make more sense, since these are going to be accumulated for larger projects that would meet the threshold of being a capital investment, to actually create a line item in the capital projects fund to hold the 1% monies there, so they can be accumulated, because capital funds accumulate. Funds in the operating funds essentially get wiped every year and end up as unanticipated fund
Right,
balance if you don't
right.
spend them. So given the nature of these funds are intended to build up and accumulate over time for capital projects, we felt that would be the best place for those funds to live. So they're earmarked for that particular use, but they're in the capital projects fund. We made that move in FY26 to move that money out. That created essentially a deficit that we're needing to backfill. So that's really it.
No, that was super helpful, because I got hung up on the 1%. I got hung up
Sure.
on some of the movement there, but that was very helpful. So thank you. Yeah. Any other questions, Gina or Drew?
Thank you.
Yeah, good explanation.
Okay. You're
So recommend approval to amend ordinance 2024-12 in the amount of $5,710,476 to accommodate unappropriated fund balances.
And there'll be public hearing, they'll be held, because
Yeah.
you open the
Right.
budget, we have to hold a public
Right.
hearing. So the hearing has been noticed for September 2nd. So we'll go
Okay.
through the presentation and it'll be on regular agenda because of that.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Drew, Gina,
It's
Phil?
weird, it's
I got
weird to
nothing.
think we're in September for meetings, but here we are.
It has flown by.
Well, let us adjourn exactly at an hour and almost 1 minute. Thank you.